What happens when a Bravo queen drags a real-life prince in front of a screaming Vegas crowd while pretending it's all just cheeky fun? That's not a tabloid headline. That's not a clickbait thumbnail. That's exactly what unfolded, unscripted, unrehearsed, and shockingly savage, on November 15th, 2025, at BravoCon in Las Vegas. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. And if you think it was just a joke, darling, then buckle up. Because what Lisa Vanderpump delivered wasn't shade. It was a royal-level roast, dressed in roses and pearls, with a twist of icy lemon. But first, let's set the scene. Because you need to understand where this happened, who was watching, and why this moment might have just marked a permanent shift in how American pop culture sees the once-beloved Prince Harry. This wasn't some late-night podcast or a whisper on Twitter. This was BravoCon, the biggest, loudest, most unfiltered pop culture carnival in America. Thousands of fans, dozens of reality stars, every major entertainment outlet watching. The panels are known for their chaos, for their confessions, for the off-script moments that go instantly viral. But no one, not even the most seasoned Bravo diehards, saw this one coming. Because this wasn't supposed to be about him. It wasn't even his panel. Harry wasn't invited. He wasn't on stage. He wasn't in the audience. He was just a story, a quiet anecdote, a name in a celebrity travel tale, until Lisa Vanderpump turned his name into a punchline, and then into a headline. It all started with a bit of casual gossip. Jerry O'Connell, known Bravo fan, actor, and husband of model actress Rebecca Romaine, took the mic on a packed Saturday panel. He was bantering, warming up the room, sharing a funny little story to get things going. "My wife recently flew on a plane with Prince Harry," he said, grinning. Gasps. Laughter. A few audience oohs. She said, "Yeah, it was exciting," Jerry continued, pausing for comedic timing, but not as exciting as when Lisa Vanderpump sat 2 rows back. The audience roared. Cue Lisa Vanderpump. Pink blouse, diamonds on her wrist, legs crossed, calm as ever. And then she smirked, tilted her head, and dropped it, stone cold. "Well, I'm a loyal Brit," she said, voice dripping in dry aristocratic sass. "He isn't, right?" Pause. "Come on. You know I'm telling the truth." The room exploded. Gasps. Cheers. A few audible "OHHHs" from the crowd. Someone yelled, "Drag him, Lisa." Another screamed, "She said it." And Lisa? She just sipped her water and looked straight ahead. She didn't need to explain. She didn't walk it back. She didn't soften it. That single sentence, "I'm a loyal Brit. He isn't," did all the heavy lifting. It was subtle but deadly, delivered with that signature Lisa ice and lip gloss combo, a velvet glove wrapped around a dagger. But here's the thing. That wasn't just an offhand comment. That wasn't just a laugh line. To understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to look deeper. Because behind that one-liner were layers of history, of tension, of cultural resentment that's been bubbling ever since Harry and Meghan stepped away from the royal family and plunged into the world of Netflix deals, Hollywood podcasts, and American Fame games. Lisa Vanderpump isn't just any Bravo star. She's British. Deeply, unapologetically British. And she's always kept a toe in the aristocratic world. She's dined with earls. She understands titles, tradition, and the subtle dance of social power. So when Lisa makes a quip like that, it's not random. It's loaded. It's intentional. It's code for people who know. Because let's be honest, Lisa could have stayed quiet. Jerry's story was cute. It was harmless. A funny comparison between 2 celebrities his wife saw on a plane. But Lisa seized the moment. She chose to draw that line in the sand. Between herself and Harry. Between loyalty and what she clearly sees as betrayal. And in doing so, she opened the floodgates. Because if Lisa Vanderpump, queen of controlled elegance and Bravo diplomacy, feels bold enough to roast a prince in front of thousands of fans, then maybe the gloves are off. Maybe the celebrity tide has turned. Maybe Harry's golden image, at least in pop culture, is cracking. Now let's address the real question. Why does this matter? It's just a joke, right? Wrong. This matters because it didn't happen in a British tabloid. It didn't come from Piers Morgan or Dan Wootton or the usual royal critics. It came from inside the house, from within Hollywood. From the world Harry and Meghan chose to join. And that's what stings. Lisa's roast didn't come from a monarchist or a Daily Mail columnist. It came from a fellow expat, a Brit who made it in America, a reality TV icon who carved out her own empire. A woman who, in some ways, has done exactly what Meghan Markle tried to do, but without the royal baggage. And the contrast is damning. Because Lisa Vanderpump, for all her drama, is still beloved, still invited, still funny when she mocks someone. Whereas Harry, more and more, he's becoming the butt of the joke. And when BravoCon turns on you, you're not just losing the crown. You're losing the culture. The other reason this moment matters? Because it wasn't a one-off. If you dig just a little deeper, you'll find that Lisa has hinted at these feelings before. In interviews, in casual conversations, even in tweets that fans are now resurfacing. There's a quiet war happening, a cultural one, between the British elites and the ex-royals, between old-school loyalty and new-age victimhood, between the monarchists and the memoirists. And Lisa Vanderpump just threw down the gauntlet. Of course, the internet exploded. The BravoCon clip was posted within minutes. Within hours, it had been memed, remixed, debated, and dissected. Lisa was trending on X, formerly Twitter. Loyal Brit became a meme template. TikTokers reenacted the panel moment. YouTubers broke it down frame by frame. Royal watchers on Reddit had a field day. And what about Harry? Well, he stayed silent. So did Meghan. And that silence spoke volumes. Because when a Bravo icon publicly questions your loyalty to your own country, and you say nothing in return, it starts to feel like maybe there's some truth to it. Maybe even you know it. And now, let's talk about what didn't get said on that stage. Because Lisa's sentence was short, but her smirk was longer. That smirk? That pause. It said, "There's more I could say, but I won't. Not here. Not now." Which begs the question. What else does Lisa Vanderpump know about Prince Harry that she's not saying? What rumors has she heard? What stories has she been told at those Hollywood dinners? Is she holding back? Or is this just the beginning? Because the Lisa we know? She doesn't throw punches without a reason. And if this was her first public jab, well then, what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. What happens when a throwaway panel moment turns into a full-blown cultural earthquake? That's the real story here. Because on the surface, it was simple. A Bravo panel. A playful anecdote. A classic Lisa Vanderpump one-liner. But beneath the laughter, something cracked. Something deep. Something uncomfortable. Something royal. And within minutes, the internet caught the scent. This wasn't just Lisa being cheeky. It wasn't a meme-ready zinger. It was something else. Something people felt. Because when that line dropped, "I'm a loyal Brit," he isn't. It didn't land like a joke. It landed like a judgment. And for Prince Harry, it marked a turning point. Not in a tabloid, not on a talk show, but in a glittery Vegas ballroom filled with housewives, fans, cocktails, and influencers live streaming the chaos. Let's rewind the tape and break it all down. The setup, BravoCon 2025, Las Vegas, Saturday, November 15th. The Venetian Ballroom. Panel titled, Reality Royalty, Legends of Bravo. Moderated by Andy Cohen's go-to producer Sarah Jeffries. Panelists, Jerry O'Connell, Lisa Vanderpump, Dorrit Kemsley, Garcelle Beauvais, and Captain Lee from Below Deck. The room, packed. Over 2,500 fans in person. Another 40,000 streaming live through Bravo TV's premium feed. Cameras everywhere. Social media interns poised to clip anything meme-worthy within seconds. Jerry O'Connell opens with a warm-up bit. He's loose, funny, throwing out names, light gossip, a few classic self-deprecating jokes. Then he casually drops it. "My wife, Rebecca Romaine, just flew on a plane with Prince Harry." Pause. Gasps. Laughs. He's charming, working the crowd. People think it's a fun celebrity tale. She said, "Yeah, it was exciting," Jerry says, smiling wide. But not as exciting as when Lisa Vanderpump sat 2 rows back. Boom. The crowd erupts. Jerry delivers it like it's harmless. A joke. Just a little playful flex. The kind of BravoCon moment that usually dies within 5 seconds. But not this time. Because Lisa doesn't laugh. She waits. Tilts her head. Smirks. Leans ever so slightly forward in her chair. And then she strikes. "Well, I'm a loyal Brit," she says slowly. Calmly. like a queen delivering an execution order with a smile. Then comes the dagger. He isn't, right? Pause. Come on. You know I'm telling the truth. That's when the gasps start. The laughter twists. The crowd doesn't know whether to cheer or recoil. Dorit lets out a dramatic "ooh" and covers her mouth. Garcelle raises her eyebrows and lets out a slow, theatrical woo. Captain Lee leans back in his chair and chuckles under his breath. The moderator tries to pivot, but the damage is done. The room is now fully awake. The clip is already being screen recorded on 10 different phones. A producer in the wings is texting someone at Bravo HQ. Lisa leans back, sips her water, silent, unbothered. So what was it about that line? Why did it explode across TikTok, Twitter, and morning talk shows within hours? Because it wasn't just about Prince Harry. It was about loyalty. It was about identity. And it was about timing. Let's be real. Prince Harry has spent the last 5 years redefining himself. From British military vet to Californian climate activist. From senior royal to podcast memoirist. From Queen's grandson to Netflix executive. He's traded Windsor for Montecito. Traditions for therapy. Crown duties for TV deals. And for some, like Lisa Vanderpump, that trade-off hits a nerve. Because she's also a Brit who built an American empire. But she didn't burn her bridges. She didn't throw the monarchy under the bus. She never publicly accused the crown of racism or the palace of negligence. She took the high road. She served up shade, but she did it with elegance, with subtlety, with charm. So when Lisa says, "I'm a loyal Brit," he isn't. What she's really saying is, "I played the game right." He didn't. And that's what makes it so cutting. Because she's not yelling. She's not ranting. She's not calling him names. She's simply making a moral distinction. A character judgment. And it's deadly. Let's talk about the immediate fallout. Within 30 minutes, the moment is clipped and uploaded to TikTok. The caption? Lisa drags Harry live at BravoCon skull, nail polish crown. It gets 300,000 views in under an hour. Hashtag #LoyalBrit trends on X. YouTubers start analyzing the clip frame by frame. One viral post reads, Lisa Vanderpump calling out Prince Harry for abandoning his country in front of 2,000 people is so much more savage than anything Piers Morgan's ever said. Because she made it look classy. Another TikTok goes viral with this title. Lisa didn't throw shade. She threw a whole chandelier skull. Even Bravo's official account leans into the drama, posting a slow-mo version of the panel with Lisa's line captioned over dramatic music. And fans eat it up. Commenters flood the posts. She said what we were all thinking. LVP doesn't miss. Ever. Harry getting cooked at BravoCon was not on my 2025 bingo card. But the backlash isn't limited to memes. Entertainment outlets pick it up. By Saturday night, headlines are everywhere. Entertainment Tonight. Lisa Vanderpump throws subtle shade at Prince Harry. Audience gasps. People magazine. Lisa Vanderpump questions Prince Harry's loyalty in viral BravoCon moment. TMZ. Lisa drags the prince. I'm a loyal Brit. He isn't. Daily Mail. Of course, Bravo bombshell. Lisa Vanderpump ROASDS disloyal Duke. And here's where it gets interesting. Not a single statement from Harry's camp. Not a denial. Not a clarification. Not a tweet. Just silence. And that silence? It speaks volumes. Because Lisa didn't accuse him of lying. She didn't question his marriage. She questioned something much deeper. His loyalty. His character. And that kind of critique is much harder to fight. Because how do you clap back at someone saying, "You abandoned your roots"? Especially when that someone is also British, also famous, and also beloved. But here's what almost no one caught. Lisa's body language. There's a moment right after she says it. She leans back, looks down at her hands, smiles slightly, like she knows exactly what she just did. It wasn't off the cuff. It wasn't random. It was surgical. And that smirk? That was the look of someone who has more to say, but chooses not to. Which makes you wonder, what else does Lisa know? What else might she have heard? Because the Beverly Hills social circles are small. Lisa dines with CEOs, aristocrats, European royals, and Hollywood producers. She hears things. She knows things. And she's not one to speak without intention. So if she's willing to make that jab, on stage, at BravoCon, with cameras rolling, what's she saying behind closed doors? And what might come next? Because here's the final twist. That BravoCon moment. It might have just been the first strike. A warning shot. A message. Not just to Harry, but to everyone watching. That Lisa Vanderpump is done playing nice. That the Bravo queens aren't afraid to speak on royals. And that Prince Harry's once untouchable image? It's now fair game for jokes, jabs, and televised takedowns. And remember, this wasn't even his panel. Prince Harry wasn't there. He wasn't mentioned in the panel title. He wasn't on the guest list. But by the end of that session, he was the main character. That's how fast the narrative turned. That's how sharp Lisa's delivery was. And that's how fragile Harry's American perception might really be. Because when reality TV stars start roasting royalty, and the crowd cheers, not gasps, something big is shifting. The old rules. Gone. The new rules? If you make headlines, you better be able to take the heat. And Prince Harry? He just got scorched. But what came next made the roast look tame. What happens when the woman who built her empire with roses, reality TV, and restaurants decides to throw a dagger instead of a dinner party? Because Lisa Vanderpump didn't just deliver a throwaway line. She made a statement. A declaration, really. And if you know anything about Lisa, anything real beyond the pink outfits and posh poodles, you'll understand one thing. She doesn't do anything without intention. She is a tactician, a strategist, an operator in heels. And that BravoCon moment, it wasn't spontaneous. It was surgical. To understand the weight of that one-liner, we have to go back, way back, to where Lisa came from, to what she believes, to the cultural code she lives by. Because this wasn't just a moment of sass. This was about loyalty, British loyalty, old world loyalty. And in Lisa's eyes, that's something Prince Harry threw away like last week's tabloids. Let's rewind the clock. Lisa Vanderpump was born and raised in London. She's not a Beverly Hills transplant trying to fake aristocracy. She was the aristocracy in her own quiet way. She attended drama school at age 9, acted in films by 13, married Ken Todd, a wealthy British restaurateur, and together they built a literal empire. By the time Lisa was 30, she'd already lived the life Meghan Markle dreamed of: private jets, European villas, dinner parties with minor royals, and British old money charm. But here's the difference. Lisa never turned her back on the UK. She moved to the US, yes. She built in Beverly Hills. But her identity, her values, her loyalty never changed. In every interview, she references home as London. She toasts the Queen, the new king. She tears up when speaking of Princess Diana. She still spells color with AU. Even when she became a massive star in America, Lisa never fully surrendered her Britishness. It became her brand, her edge, her armor. So when she says, "I'm a loyal Brit," it's not just a cute phrase. It's a code, a principle, a line in the sand. Let's talk about what loyalty really means in Lisa's world. This isn't loyalty to an institution out of blind nationalism. It's about honor, about discretion, about the deeply embedded cultural belief that some things, family, tradition, heritage, are sacred. You don't air the family laundry. You don't throw your bloodline under the bus for ratings. And you definitely don't attack the crown after benefiting from its name for over 3 decades. In Lisa's eyes, Harry didn't just step back from royal duties. He betrayed them. He betrayed everyone. And she said it out loud, with 5 words. "I'm a loyal Brit." He isn't. It wasn't mean. It wasn't vulgar. It was deadly. Because it cut straight to the thing Harry tries so hard to defend, his character. Lisa wasn't attacking his policies or his choices. She was attacking the core of who he presents himself to be. And she did it while barely raising her voice. But here's where things get even sharper. Lisa has long been circling this moment. She didn't just arrive at BravoCon and decide to take a jab at Prince Harry out of nowhere. She's been building this stance, quietly, cleverly, for years. Let's roll back to a 2021 podcast appearance, barely noticed at the time. Lisa was asked about the royal drama after the Oprah interview. Her response? "I just think some things are better handled within the family. You know? Airing all that, it's not very British. Simple. Elegant. A warning shot." In another 2022 interview with the Times UK, she said, "Diana had such grace, even when things fell apart. She never burned the whole house down." Another subtle shade. At Meghan. At Harry. At the whole burn-it-down approach to royalty. Fans noticed. Some called her out. But Lisa didn't backtrack. She never needed to. Because her fans? They agree. To them, Lisa represents a dying art, the classy roast, the velvet dagger, the smile that cuts deeper than any scream. Let's zoom in on Lisa's position in pop culture. She's not just a reality TV star. She's a matriarch. She commands respect in a world where drama usually comes cheap. She runs restaurants, produces shows, manages empires. She employs people, elevates others, and, when needed, takes people down. She's the rare kind of woman who can sit at a Bravo reunion and make Andy Cohen nervous. She owns her seat at the table, and she's not afraid of royalty. Because unlike the fawning celebrities who rush to be seen with Harry and Meghan, Lisa doesn't need them. She doesn't need their approval. She doesn't need their spotlight. She is the spotlight, and that gives her freedom, power, leverage. So when she speaks on Harry, it matters, not because she's trying to go viral, but because she doesn't need to. Let's talk about the dagger in her handbag. Because make no mistake, Lisa's style is lethal. She doesn't scream. She doesn't brawl. She doesn't name drop like a fame chaser. She speaks softly and lets the blow land hard. She's the type to roast you, then offer you tea and a cookie. And that's what made the BravoCon moment so devastating. She didn't deliver a takedown. She delivered a truth bomb, one that echoed through every corner of the internet, because she framed it around loyalty. And loyalty, in the British psyche, is everything. You can be messy. You can be dramatic. You can even be scandalous. But disloyal? Unforgivable. That's the unspoken sin. And when Lisa declared Harry disloyal, on stage, on camera, without even flinching, she turned him from a misunderstood outsider into a traitor, at least in the eyes of many. Here's something most people missed. Lisa knows the aristocracy. She's brushed shoulders with titled families. She's dined at old money estates. She's attended functions with people whose surnames aren't even listed in the press. In fact, one source close to the Vanderpump family revealed that Lisa once co-hosted a charity gala where a minor royal made an appearance. She knows the world Harry left, and she knows how it operates. So when she says he isn't a loyal Brit, it's not said from ignorance. It's said from inside knowledge. She's not speculating. She's calling it like she sees it. And that's what makes it so unshakable. Because if Lisa Vanderpump, who understands British nobility, who built her fame without a palace, calls you out, it's not a slap. It's a verdict. But here's where things turn. Because Lisa didn't just make a statement. She started a conversation. A quiet one. A powerful one. And one that may have more ripple effects than we can yet see. Suddenly, celebrities are watching. Publicists are whispering. Fans are rethinking. If Lisa Vanderpump is willing to call Harry out publicly, who else might be thinking it privately? Are the tides turning? Has Harry officially lost the cultural stronghold he once had? Because when the most beloved woman in Bravo says you've betrayed your country, and the crowd cheers, that's not a gossip moment. That's a cultural shift. And now comes the real question. Was Lisa done? Or was this just her opening move? Because one source close to Bravo claims Lisa was overheard backstage saying, well, someone had to say it. Another insider claims Lisa received 3 separate texts from major Bravo personalities after the panel. All said the same thing. You said what we couldn't. Which begs the question, was this the start of a new Bravo rebellion? A moment where reality TV queens become the new royal commentators? Or, more dangerously, was this just Lisa testing the waters? Because if there's one thing Lisa loves more than tea, it's power. And nothing gets you more cultural capital than dragging royalty without breaking a sweat. So what happens next? Does Lisa say more? Does she go quiet? Does she get a podcast and go scorched earth? Or does Harry clap back? Because now the war isn't just in tabloids. It's on panels, on TikTok, on Bravo. And if Lisa Vanderpump is holding the mic, you better believe she's not done talking. What if Lisa Vanderpump's BravoCon takedown wasn't spontaneous, but the tip of a very cold, very calculated iceberg? Because while the world gasped at her 5-word roast of Prince Harry, the Royal insiders didn't flinch. They already knew. They'd seen the signs, heard the whispers, read between the lines of Lisa's interviews, tweets, and podcast appearances for years. See, Lisa's BravoCon comment wasn't her first shot. Not by a long shot. It was just the loudest one. The one wrapped in stage lights, audience gasps, and internet virality. But the truth? Lisa had been testing this roast for years, just quieter, subtler, beneath the radar. camouflaged in British politeness and passive-aggressive elegance. And now that it's all blowing up, it's time to rewind, uncover the breadcrumbs, expose the roast you missed. Because Lisa's been building this moment like a queen laying out her chessboard, one smirk, one quote, one eyebrow raise at a time. Let's start where most people weren't looking. December 2020, Lisa's tweet that aged like a weapon. For days after Prince Harry and Meghan Markle announced their Spotify deal, Lisa posted something curious. It wasn't directly about them. It didn't tag anyone. But the tone? Razor sharp. When you trade the palace for a podcast, don't forget who paid for the palace. That's it. No follow-up. No explanation. Fans debated what it meant. Some thought it was about influencers. Others thought it was shade at YouTubers. But one fan responded, "Wait, is this about Meghan and Harry?" Lisa liked the tweet. Didn't retweet. Didn't reply. Just liked. And in Lisa world, that's a loaded move. Because she rarely engages in Twitter spats. She doesn't subtweet for attention. But she does use silence as a weapon. And that tweet, that was her first jab, delivered with lace gloves and a lipstick smile. April 2021, the podcast slip. On an episode of Overserved with Lisa Vanderpump, her guest, comedian Kathy Griffin, brought up the Oprah interview. "You watched the Meghan and Harry thing, right?" Kathy asked. Lisa sipped her rose, smiled, paused. Then she said, "Oh yes, painful. I don't mean their trauma. I mean the presentation." Kathy laughed. "So you're not a fan?" Lisa, eyes twinkling, answered, "Let's just say, not everyone who wears a crown deserves one. And not everyone who gives one up should expect applause." The audience laughed. The moment moved on. But Bravo fans, they clocked it. And royal watchers, they screenshot it. It was subtle. It was dismissive. It was surgical. And yet again, no names. But the message was clear. Summer 2022, the Diana would never moment. Lisa was doing a panel for the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip in Cannes. A British reporter asked her, "Do you think Meghan and Harry handled their exit well?" Lisa exhaled, looked up, said, "I think Princess Diana, rest her soul, always found a way to protect her children and maintain some dignity. She never needed to throw grenades." Then she smiled. "But I suppose everyone mourns differently." Oof. Direct? No. Lethal? Absolutely. Because in royal culture, invoking Diana isn't a casual move. It's loaded. And to suggest Diana would have disapproved? That's not commentary. That's condemnation. Especially coming from someone like Lisa, who's publicly said that Diana was a style icon, a humanitarian, and a woman who knew when to stay silent. That was a shot across the Atlantic. And everyone felt it. 2023. The Beverly Hills birthday incident. This one never made the papers. But it did leak in a fan forum that's now exploding in popularity again. According to a source close to the Vanderpump family, in July 2023, Lisa attended a birthday dinner in Beverly Hills hosted by a well-known British fashion executive. At the dinner, Meghan Markle's name came up. So did Harry's Netflix documentary. Lisa allegedly raised her glass and said, "Imagine leaving the royal family to become a reality star." Without the ratings. The table laughed. One guest allegedly spit out their champagne. No press picked it up. It wasn't public. But multiple Bravo insiders confirmed the story in private. It was vintage Lisa. Elegant savagery. So what does all this mean? Why was Lisa Vanderpump soft launching a roast campaign against Prince Harry? What's the motivation? Let's break it down. Because this isn't about clout. Lisa doesn't need attention. She's not chasing relevancy. She is relevant. This is about principles. About public performance. About who gets to shape the British narrative in America. And in Lisa's mind, Harry's version isn't just flawed. It's embarrassing. Because Lisa has spent years being the British woman Americans actually like. Sassy but smart. Loyal but free. Powerful but polite. She doesn't complain. She doesn't lecture. She doesn't burn the system. She masters it. So when Harry came to the States and started painting the royal family as cold, racist, and cruel, Lisa saw it as a betrayal. Not just of the crown, but of the entire British brand. And that's personal. Because Lisa is the brand. She built it, refined it, exported it. And Harry? He's tainting it. But here's the twist. For years, Lisa kept it classy. She held back. She used coded language. British irony. Diplomatic jabs. So why go full savage now? Why make the BravoCon moment loud, clear, and unmissable? Because the cultural mood has changed. Harry and Meghan's popularity has dipped. Their podcast was canceled. The Netflix buzz faded. Their celebrity halo dimmed. And Lisa sensed it. She saw the opening, the opportunity, and, true to form, she struck when it mattered most. She didn't come for them in 2020, when everyone was crying for Meghan. She waited until 2025, when the world was starting to roll its eyes. And that's why the BravoCon line hit so hard. Because it wasn't just the words. It was the timing, the build-up, the receipts. Let's not forget the audience, either. Bravo fans aren't just reality TV junkies. They're pop culture detectives, media savvy, online 24/7, with long memories and fast fingers. So when Lisa dropped her line at BravoCon, thousands of fans already knew the context. They remembered the tweet, the podcast slip, the dinner party roast. To them, this wasn't shocking. It was satisfying, a culmination, a payoff, the final act in a slow-burn storyline Lisa had been writing for years. And this time, she didn't hold back. She didn't whisper. She roared, and the world listened. So here we are, 3 years of subtle digs, a pattern of poised shade, a crescendo that exploded under the Vegas lights. And now the real question hangs in the air. Was this Lisa's final word? Or just her opening argument? Because if she's been roasting Harry this quietly since 2020, then what's she really thinking? What has she not said? And more importantly, what is she planning to do next? Because when Lisa Vanderpump decides you've betrayed the crown, she doesn't forget, she doesn't forgive, and she definitely doesn't stay silent. What really happened on that flight, when Prince Harry, flying high and far from the UK, ended up 2 rows ahead of someone who never expected to see him at all? Because this chapter didn't begin on a Bravo stage. It began at 35,000 feet, in the sleek, whisper-quiet cabin of a high-end commercial jetliner flying from Los Angeles to New York in early November 2025. And in that cabin, 3 passengers whose encounter would later spark one of the most viral BravoCon moments of the year. Rebecca Romijn, Prince Harry, and, via one witty panel retelling, Lisa Vanderpump. Only, Lisa wasn't on that flight. Not physically, but as Jerry O'Connell would later reveal, it was Lisa's presence. Her aura, her energy, her cultural dominance, that overshadowed Harry on that aircraft. And what Rebecca reportedly felt during that flight may have revealed something far more unsettling than anyone expected. Let's break it down. According to Jerry's onstage story at BravoCon, the moment went like this. My wife recently flew on a plane with Prince Harry. The room already leaned in. She said, yeah, it was exciting, but not as exciting as when Lisa Vanderpump sat 2 rows back. Pause for laughs. And the audience exploded. But here's where it gets strange. Because the way Jerry told the story, it wasn't just a throwaway bit. It was pointed, planted, dare we say rehearsed? He name-dropped his own wife. Name-dropped Prince Harry. Then name-dropped Lisa. Not as a punchline, but as the pinnacle of celebrity aura. He delivered it with that signature Bravo fanboy energy. But behind the grin, there was tension. Like he knew the comment had layers. Like this wasn't the first time they'd discussed that flight, and what really went down in the cabin. And what Rebecca felt in that moment, 2 rows behind the Duke of Sussex, might explain far more than anyone realizes. Let's talk about the flight. Sources now confirm the trip in question took place on November 3rd, 2025, 12 days before BravoCon. It was a red-eye. Delta One, LAX to JFK. Not private, but not commercial in the peasant sense either. Harry was flying solo. No Meghan. Rebecca Romijn was flying for a press junket. And based on where they sat, Harry had seat 2A. Rebecca was reportedly in 4C. 2 rows back. Opposite aisle. Close enough to observe. Not close enough to chat. Which is exactly how Rebecca preferred it. According to multiple people familiar with the flight, and one source who sat in between them in 3B, Rebecca clocked Harry immediately. He had his hood up. AirPods in. No eye contact. No hellos. Just a weary, closed-off man trying to disappear. While still very much occupying first class. And what Rebecca whispered to Jerry after landing wasn't flattering. She told me, Jerry said on stage, that it was underwhelming. But what does that mean? What's underwhelming about a literal prince? The aura? Gone. The posture? Slouched. The vibe? Uninterested. maybe even annoyed. Not royal, not rebel, just there. And the subtext in Rebecca's words, as relayed by Jerry, was something like this. He may have been born into royalty, but Lisa Vanderpump commands a room. So now, we have a fascinating triangle. Harry, trying to blend in. Rebecca, seeing through the illusion. Lisa, being invoked as the benchmark of celebrity magnetism. Think about that. Prince Harry, a literal duke, sat in first class, and still couldn't generate the kind of buzz that Lisa Vanderpump does when she's casually sipping rose at 36,000 feet. That's not shade. That's a shift. A shift in who holds real power in American pop culture. And it wasn't just Rebecca who felt it. The same source who sat in seat 3B said passengers were quietly murmuring after takeoff. Is that Prince Harry? But no one approached him. No one asked for a selfie. No one dared say hello. Because the energy around Harry now? It's weird. He's no longer mysterious. He's no longer untouchable. He's uncomfortable. Like a man between worlds. Too famous for anonymity. Too alienated for adoration. And in that vacuum, figures like Lisa rise. Figures who know how to carry fame gracefully, without the drama, the baggage, the public pity. Which leads us to this. Why did Jerry bring this up at BravoCon? It didn't connect to the panel theme. No one asked him a question about flying. It wasn't prompted. He chose to start there. And that choice feels strategic. It was an invitation, an opening for Lisa to react. And Lisa, being Lisa, took the bait. But in her way, measured, deadly, effortless. I'm a loyal Brit. He isn't. Come on. You know I'm telling the truth. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Multiple Bravo insiders are now whispering that Lisa knew Jerry was going to bring up that flight. In fact, some claim she asked him to. Not in a malicious way. Not to ambush Harry. But to test the waters. To see how the room would respond. Would they groan? Would they boo? Would they cheer? And when they cheered, Lisa knew. It was time. Time to stop subtweeting. Time to stop implying. Time to say it. Because if the crowd's with her, the audience is with her. And in Bravo land, the audience is king. But what about Rebecca? Why was she so underwhelmed? Let's not forget, she's no stranger to fame. She's married to a talk show host. She's done blockbuster films. She's walked red carpets for decades. She knows charisma. She knows presence. She knows how celebrities carry themselves when they think no one's watching. So if she came off that flight saying Harry felt meh, that's not nothing. That's a read. And it might just confirm what many in Hollywood have started whispering. The mystique is gone. The aura has faded. The glamour has curdled. The once hot Sussex sparkle is now dim. And in an industry built on image, that's fatal. Which brings us back to Lisa. Why did she become the standard in this comparison? Because Lisa understands something Harry doesn't. The art of sustained charisma. She walks into a room and owns it. Not with scandal. Not with headlines. But with energy. She knows her brand. She never plays the victim. She never begs for sympathy. And she never forgets to smile, especially when she's holding the knife. That's why Rebecca could say, with complete sincerity, that Lisa sitting 2 rows back was more thrilling than Harry sitting 2 rows ahead. It wasn't shade. It was the truth. And now the real kicker. What if this entire BravoCon roast was seeded by that one quiet flight? What if Lisa, hearing Jerry tell the story after the fact, realized just how far Harry had fallen in the eyes of his fellow celebrities? What if that was the moment she decided? He's fair game now. Because in Hollywood, perception is reality. And if Prince Harry, once the Golden Prince, the global heartthrob, the symbol of rebellious royalty, can sit quietly in first class and still not stir excitement, then he's no longer above critique. No longer above comedy. No longer above a good old-fashioned Vanderpump takedown. So Lisa waited. She sharpened her words. She watched the world turn. And when Jerry gave her the perfect setup, she delivered the line. No notes. No apology. No regrets. Because on that flight, 2 rows separated Harry and Rebecca. But in the real world, the distance between Harry and Lisa is growing wider every day. And what came next would take that gap from cultural to catastrophic. How did a once beloved royal rebel, a war hero, a cultural icon, a global heartthrob, become the man people now roll their eyes at on red carpets and in green rooms? Because this isn't just about one panel moment, or one Lisa Vanderpump quip, or even one viral clip from BravoCon. This is about a shift, a subtle, creeping reversal. A man who used to command admiration now commands awkward silences, polite nods, nervous glances, and yes, open laughter. Let's be brutally honest. Prince Harry didn't just walk away from the royal family. He walked into something else, Hollywood. And for a while, that move seemed genius. A Netflix deal, a Spotify deal, a docuseries, a memoir. Harry and Meghan were everywhere. Time covers, Oprah specials, power couple headlines. Their narrative was strong, compelling, even refreshing. But somewhere along the way, the tide turned. And now, Harry isn't seen as bold. He's seen as awkward, out of place. A little too serious, a little too preachy, a little too lost. So how did that happen? How did Prince Harry become the guy that celebrities now mock under their breath? Let's unpack it. The arrival, January 2020, Prince Harry moves to California. When Harry and Meghan first announced they were stepping back from royal duties, the reaction was mixed, but largely forgiving. They wanted peace, freedom, to protect their mental health, to raise their kids out of the spotlight. The world understood that. Then came the media tour, the tell-all interviews, the Netflix series Harry and Meghan, the Archetypes podcast, the memoir Spare. Suddenly, they weren't quietly retreating from royalty. They were repackaging it, selling it, narrating it. And that's when the Hollywood machine started to shift from intrigued to uneasy. Because in this town, no one likes a complainer. No one likes a sermon. And no one likes a celebrity who doesn't understand their place. The Netflix problem. The $100 million Netflix deal sounded enormous. The result? One docuseries and silence. Harry and Meghan was beautifully shot, but bloated. Critics called it self-indulgent. Reviewers called it redundant. The general public? They watched it. They shrugged. They moved on. And Netflix execs noticed. What was once pitched as a goldmine became a PR liability. And when the follow-up projects quietly stalled, the whispers started. He's not a storyteller. He's not a producer. He's not built for this. The Spotify fumble. Then came the Spotify fallout. Meghan's Archetypes podcast launched with great fanfare. High-profile guests. Sleek branding. Lots of promise. And then, it fizzled. Fast. Spotify terminated the $20 million deal in 2023. The public statement was polite. But a Spotify executive, speaking anonymously, was far less so. They just didn't deliver. That quote went viral. And suddenly, Harry and Meghan weren't just royals in exile. They were overpaid, underperforming content creators. In Hollywood terms, that's a death sentence. Because in this town, everyone is replaceable. No name is sacred. And no legacy matters if you don't move units. The book that broke the illusion, Spare, Harry's memoir, was supposed to change everything. It did, but maybe not in the way he wanted. Yes, it sold. Yes, it dominated headlines. But it also got mocked. Hard. Frozen penis. Fight with William. Losing his virginity behind a pub. The necklace. The dog bowl. The details Harry thought would humanize him, they turned into memes. Late-night hosts tore it apart. Podcasts joked about it relentlessly. Even SNL did a skit. And in the green rooms of Hollywood, executives started asking, wait, is this guy for real? The reverence collapsed. The mystique evaporated. What was left? A man who overshared. A man who complained. A man who still didn't seem happy. The Meghan factor. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Or rather, the actress in the room. Meghan Markle's Hollywood ambitions are no secret. She was once on Deal or No Deal, then Suits, then parlayed her royal marriage into podcasting, documentaries, and interviews. But she's polarizing. For every fan, there's a critic. For every Vogue cover, there's a think piece. And in Hollywood, her reputation is mixed. Some see her as strategic. Others see her as a liability. And when she and Harry appear together in public, at award shows, galas, premieres, the vibe is unmistakable. She's the driver. He's the passenger. And that power dynamic, Hollywood notices. Because in Tinseltown, image is everything. And the image of Prince Harry as the wide-eyed, confused spouse following his wife through a world he clearly doesn't understand, it's not sexy. It's not charming. It's just awkward. The vibes shift. From fascination to fatigue. By 2024, the shift was undeniable. Harry and Meghan were no longer the couple who fled the crown. They were that couple, the ones who keep telling the same story, the ones who keep promising new projects that never come, the ones who show up and make everything about them. They became the people you invite, cautiously. You seat them far enough from the host. You brief the staff. You keep the cameras off of them, unless you want the story to spiral. That's how far it's fallen. From Oprah to obscurity. From royal blood to Hollywood punchline. Backstage reactions, the Lisa effect. Let's go back to BravoCon. When Lisa dropped the line, "I'm a loyal Brit," he isn't. The audience howled. But the real reactions happened backstage. One Bravo producer, speaking anonymously, said this. People cheered. But backstage, we were all like, finally, someone said it. Another insider claimed a Real Housewife whispered, "Harry's just not fun anymore." That sentence stuck with me. Not fun. Because in Hollywood, that's the worst thing you can be. Worse than problematic. Worse than overexposed. Worse than messy. Not fun means not worth inviting. Not worth watching. Not worth rooting for. And if that's how people see Harry now, it's over. The ironic tragedy. Here's the part that stings the most. Harry left the royal family because he said he couldn't breathe. He was suffocating. He was surveilled. He was censored. He came to Hollywood for freedom, for expression, for peace. And what did he find? Another cage. Another spotlight. Another stage where he still feels misunderstood. Only this time, he doesn't have the monarchy to blame. He has to own it. And that's the great contradiction. He wanted to be seen. But now he's watched. He wanted a voice. But now no one's listening. He wanted out of the institution and walked straight into the algorithm. So what happens now? Harry is at a crossroads. He can retreat, regroup, pull a quiet year strategy, and hope people forget the cringe. Or he can double down. More projects, more interviews, more attempts to reshape the narrative. But either way, the room is colder now. The red carpets are less excited. The people who once gasped at his presence now check their phones when he walks by. And in Hollywood, that silence is louder than any scandal. That silence is deadly. And the final twist? When a Bravo icon can mock you on stage, and the audience cheers, not cringes, you're not a rebel anymore. You're not a royal. You're a reference. A joke people laugh at. Not because they hate you, but because they're done pretending they don't. And what happened next would prove that even more brutally. What happens when two women take the same stage in different worlds? Both beautiful, both ambitious, both British by connection. Yet only one becomes beloved while the other sparks division at every turn? Because this isn't just about Harry anymore. This is about her, Meghan Markle, and the strange, ironic truth that's been quietly building for years but exploded the second Lisa Vanderpump dropped that 5-word snipe at BravoCon. "I'm a loyal Brit." He isn't. The moment Lisa said it, she wasn't just roasting Harry. She was drawing a line that divided more than just fans and critics. A line that split two legacies. Lisa Vanderpump, Meghan Markle. One, a reality TV queen with an empire of restaurants, fans, and roses. The other, a former actress turned duchess turned Hollywood outsider. On the surface, they couldn't be more different. But dig deeper? They've walked strikingly similar paths. Both tried to conquer Hollywood. Both became symbols of British glamour. Both have complicated relationships with royalty. But only one walks into a room and gets standing ovations. The other walks into headlines filled with tension. So how did it happen? Why does Lisa get the crown of cultural approval while Meghan continues to be caught in controversy? Let's break down this unexpected, mirrored rivalry. Because the answer might just lie in how each woman chose to play the game. Lisa's path, building with grace. Let's start with Lisa. Born in London, raised with manners, poise, and a sharp sense of humor. She didn't marry into royalty, but she moved like she had. From the early days of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Lisa projected old-school British elegance. She wasn't loud. She wasn't vulgar. She wasn't messy. She let others be messy. And she reigned with a velvet glove. She built restaurants, created brands, became the matriarch of Bravo. And through it all, she stayed in her lane. Even when attacked on her own show, Lisa rarely lost control. She never begged for sympathy. She never weaponized pain. She just raised an eyebrow and walked out holding her dignity like a designer clutch. Fans loved her for it. They trusted her. Because Lisa's public persona wasn't a performance, It was a posture. Controlled. Strategic. Effortless. And that image? It never cracked. Not even when the media tried to twist her storylines. Not even when co-stars turned on her. Not even when grief hit. Like when her brother died in 2018. She cried once, then went back to work. That's Lisa. Stoic. Commanding. Admired. Now Meghan's path. A meteor with sparks. Now flip it. Meghan Markle, born in California, trained in acting, polished by media. Charismatic. Gorgeous. Articulate. She married into royalty, and for a brief moment, it was magic. But very quickly, the fairy tale turned into a battleground. From tabloids to Twitter to talk shows, Meghan became a lightning rod. Some adored her, others reviled her. And as her story unfolded, one thing became clear. Meghan didn't want to play the game Lisa played. She didn't want to master subtlety. She wanted to change the rules. She didn't want to smile and sip tea while chaos brewed beneath the surface. She wanted to name the chaos. Expose it. Tear it down. In the Netflix documentary, she says, "You have no idea what's going on behind the scenes." She fought back. She told her truth. She challenged the institution. And the cost? Reputation whiplash. Because in America, people love a rebel until the rebel starts to feel tired. And Meghan's brand of defiance, while noble to some, became grating to others, especially when paired with private jets, Spotify deals, and designer gowns. It didn't help that the press kept spinning everything, from avocado toast to tiaras, into royal warfare. But still, the image cracked. What once felt fresh started to feel forced. Perception is everything. Now let's compare. Lisa and Meghan both left Britain for California. Both built media platforms. Both became symbols of British femininity in America. But Lisa? Lisa adapted. She didn't lecture. She entertained. She never tried to change the system. She mastered it. Smiling, sipping, winning. Meghan? She wanted to transform it. But in doing so, she made enemies. She made headlines. But not always the kind that help in Hollywood. In this town, the truth doesn't matter nearly as much as the vibe. And the vibe around Lisa? Classy, witty, lighthearted, loyal. The vibe around Meghan? Complicated, political, heavy, defiant. Lisa floats. Meghan fights. And Hollywood? Hollywood chooses floaters every time. The BravoCon moment. Why it hit so hard. Now circle back. BravoCon. Jerry O'Connell tells the story. Lisa smirks. Delivers the now viral roast. "I'm a loyal Brit." He isn't. 5 words. And suddenly, she wins the room. She wins the internet. She wins the narrative. And the unspoken follow-up? She wasn't just referring to Harry. She was, in spirit, talking about Meghan too. Because when Lisa says she's a loyal Brit, she's reminding us that she stayed graceful. She didn't expose. She didn't explode. She didn't write a tell-all. She built quietly, protected her reputation, never turned on the country that made her. And the crowd cheered, not just for the quip, but for the subtext, because they've been waiting for someone, anyone, to say it, to draw the line, to call it out, to speak the truth without sounding bitter. Lisa did that, with one sentence. And Meghan? Meghan stayed silent, which, for once, might have been the smart move. A tale of 2 queens. So what are we really watching? We're watching 2 women who made vastly different choices in how they wield power. Lisa uses charm. Meghan uses confrontation. Lisa builds relationships. Meghan battles narratives. Lisa lets her audience laugh. Meghan often asks them to cry. And in this cultural moment, only one of those strategies wins. At least in the eyes of Middle America. At least on Bravo. At least in the rooms where perception shapes careers. But here's the tragic twist. They actually want the same thing. Respect. Autonomy. A platform. A voice. Lisa got hers through grace. Meghan demanded hers through truth. But the truth? The truth isn't always rewarded. Not here. Not in Hollywood. Not when the cameras are rolling. Because in this town, truth makes people uncomfortable. But elegance sells. So Lisa gets applauded. Meghan gets dissected. And maybe, just maybe, that BravoCon line wasn't a dig. Maybe it was a warning. A coded message from one survivor to another. This is how you do it, darling. Not with fury, but with a wink. And what comes next? Don't be surprised if we see more comparisons. More Lisa versus Meghan narratives. More Bravo panels where loyalty becomes the new buzzword. Because in the battle of British elegance, the audience has chosen its queen. And unless Meghan reinvents her strategy, she may find herself watching The Crown from the sidelines. What if Jerry O'Connell didn't just set up a BravoCon joke, but orchestrated a moment that would go viral, dominate headlines, and trigger a royal roasting heard around the world? Because at first glance, Jerry seemed like the innocent comic relief. Just a husband sharing a funny story about his wife's flight. Just another Bravo superfan tossing out celebrity anecdotes for laughs. But when you peel back the layers, when you slow down the moment, examine the timing, watch the facial cues, feel the temperature shift in the room, something starts to smell a little too perfect. That moment, it wasn't clumsy. It was precise, sharp, intentional. And Jerry O'Connell, longtime Bravo loyalist, seasoned actor, crowd warmer extraordinaire, might not have been the innocent bystander people assumed. He may have been the matchstick, the smiling assassin who lit the fuse and let Lisa Vanderpump burn the house down. Let's take a closer look. First, the context. Jerry O'Connell has always been a Bravo insider. He's not just a fan. He's a fixture. He's hosted aftershows, appeared on Watch What Happens Live multiple times, guest hosted with Andy Cohen, and he's married to Rebecca Romaine, a model actress with deep ties to the fashion and entertainment circuit. Jerry knows how Bravo works. He understands pacing, energy, audience cues. He knows when to play dumb and when to deliver a dagger in a joke. And most of all, he knows Lisa Vanderpump. They've crossed paths, shared panels, traded flirty quips, and crucially, they trust each other. So when Jerry chose to open the panel by telling a random story about Rebecca sitting behind Prince Harry on a plane, that was no accident. That was a setup, a perfectly constructed runway. And Lisa? She took off. Second, the delivery. Let's rewatch the moment. Jerry, holding the mic, leans in with a grin. My wife flew on a plane with Prince Harry. Pause. The crowd laughs. He adds, she said, yeah, it was exciting, but not as exciting as when Lisa Vanderpump sat 2 rows back. Cue audience roar. Now watch Lisa. She doesn't flinch, doesn't look surprised, doesn't even raise her eyebrows. She just waits. Then, with absolute composure, delivers. Well, I'm a loyal Brit. He isn't, right? Come on. You know I'm telling the truth. Boom. Explosion. Crowd loses it. Clip goes viral. Now tell me this. Does that feel spontaneous? Does that feel like a moment where neither party knew what was coming? Or does it feel like something that had been discussed? Maybe not rehearsed line for line, but certainly anticipated, prepared for. Because Lisa didn't hesitate, and Jerry didn't look shocked. And the way the moment unfolded? Too clean, too efficient, too perfectly framed. That wasn't chaos. That was choreography. Third, the motive. Why would Jerry do this? Why risk poking the royal bear? Simple. Because he knew it would land. He knew the Bravo crowd was ready. He knew the Harry-Meghan honeymoon was over. He knew Lisa Vanderpump had been circling this moment for years, and all she needed was the right alley-oop. And most importantly, he knew the media would run with it. Let's not forget, Jerry is a media-savvy veteran. He's been in the industry for decades. He knows what goes viral. He knows how headlines work. So the moment he connected his wife's flight with Harry to Lisa's larger-than-life Bravo persona, he wasn't just making a joke. He was writing a script, a meme, a moment, a cultural jab disguised as casual humor. And it worked, better than anyone could have planned. Fourth, the Romaine factor. Let's talk about Rebecca. She's not just Jerry's wife. She's a celebrity in her own right. She's walked major runways, acted in major franchises, attended elite industry parties. She knows Prince Harry's circle. She's brushed shoulders with royalty-adjacent Hollywood insiders. And her reaction to seeing Harry on that flight? Telling. She reportedly described it as underwhelming. Said Lisa sitting 2 rows back was more exciting. Now pause. That's not just commentary. That's calibration. That's a subtle read from a woman who understands celebrity hierarchy. And the message behind it? Harry's not hot anymore. Lisa is. And when Jerry brought that story to BravoCon, he was reinforcing the shift. He was reminding the audience. We decide who matters now. Not the crown. Not the titles. Not Buckingham Palace. We, the fans. We, the panelists. We, the culture makers. And in that culture, Lisa reigns. Harry fades. Fifth, the fallout. After the panel, Jerry didn't backtrack. He doubled down. He laughed about it in interviews. He reposted memes. He kept the narrative alive. And Lisa? She stayed classy, silent, smirking. Because when the pot is stirred just right, you don't need to touch it again. And that's what makes this moment so suspicious. If this was a true off-the-cuff moment, why was everyone so prepared for it? Why did it go so smoothly? Why did it explode so cleanly across the internet? Because Jerry O'Connell didn't stumble into a viral moment. He built one. And here's the final twist. Was it personal? Here's where the speculation turns sharp. What if this wasn't just strategic? What if it was emotional? What if Jerry, or Rebecca, or Lisa had personal grievances? Not dramatic ones, not scandals, but soft, quiet resentments. The kind that build over years. Maybe Rebecca was once snubbed at a royal-adjacent event. Maybe Lisa heard something Meghan said behind closed doors. Maybe Jerry just got tired of watching Harry be elevated while Lisa, a true Bravo queen, was treated like a punchline. And so, they struck back. Subtly, elegantly, but savagely. Because Hollywood doesn't always kill with scandal. Sometimes it kills with laughter. And Jerry's punchline was a kill shot in disguise. So was he an instigator or a mastermind? Both. Jerry O'Connell knew what he was doing.